In today's video, let's talk about harvesting some garlic. Hey everyone, it's Rob the Backyard Gardener, and it's time to talk about garlic. In today's video, we're going to be harvesting the garlic that I planted late last October. I'm going to show you and talk to you about when you know it's time to harvest it, how to harvest it, and then how to store it, either long-term or short-term, so that you can use it and that it's cured. Let me flip the camera around and show you the garlic that I planted last October. All right, guys, this is the garlic that I planted late last October. And actually, these cloves were from store-bought garlic. Now, a lot of people say you shouldn't plant store-bought garlic cloves in your zone because you never know if the variety that you purchased is suitable to grow in your zone. That is true. However, I buy organic garlic from an organic grocer that generally gets most of their produce from Texas. That being said, I was pretty certain that my store-bought garlic would do just fine where I've planted it. Now, I planted this the last week of October last year. If you haven't seen that video, before you watch this, check out that video. I'll put a link up here to it so you can go ahead and check it out. Typically though, in my zone, because of the very hot summers, I like planting garlic in the fall so that you have enough cold hours to really store some energy and fatten up the bulbs. You can though, in most zones, plant garlic in spring for a fall harvest. That being said, how do you know when you're supposed to harvest the garlic? There's a couple of telltale signs that will help you find out or figure out when you should harvest it. One of the first key components before you harvest garlic is to see if the ends of the foliage is turning brown and dying. And as you can see on a lot of these garlic plants, they're dying. The second thing is you'll start getting a brown base, just like this, like a blondish brown base. This means the plant is losing its energy. It can't sustain itself as much. Most of the energy has gone into the bulb and it's focused on fattening the bulb up. The third thing is that the garlic starts to fall over, and you can clearly see on a lot of these garlic heads, they're starting to fall over. Now, typically it takes about 9 months before you should harvest your bulbs, but if you start getting a lot of hot temperatures, that can accelerate it. We've been sitting around 85 to 90 the last 3 weeks, and I wanted to harvest these guys in early June, but we're only in mid-May. But that's okay. We're 3 weeks or 4 weeks earlier than I thought, and it's because of the temperatures, and I can tell it's time to harvest them. A, we've got brown leaves. B, we've got brown shoots, and they're starting to fall over. Now, you should always save some of your grown garlic bulbs for seeds. And typically you'll want to look at the stems here, and any stem that is at least the size of your thumb in width is probably a good candidate because that's going to be one of the better bulbs. This one right here is only the size of my finger, so it's going to be a smaller bulb. But we've got lots of good candidates here. We've got lots of thick stems, so I'm thinking that we're going to have a pretty good harvest today. Now, again, I could still wait 2 or 3 weeks on these, but one thing I want to be careful of is if I leave them in the ground too long and the heat stays high, then the garlic bulbs will start splitting again, and you'll have a lot of bulbs that are a lot smaller. So now that you have kind of a basis of what we should look for to harvest them, let's go ahead and get these guys harvested. Harvesting's pretty simple. I recommend that in most in-ground situations, you should take a spade and get under the bulb. But this is in my planter's box, my raised bed planter's box. And honestly, guys, this dirt is loose and it's about 2 feet deep. So these guys should come up with just a tug. We're going to start off with this small one to see what we get out of it. Not that bad. You can see my thumb in front of it. So this is probably a 2-inch, maybe a little 2.5-inch garlic bulb. We'll set him aside for right now. He's a little bit bigger. He's probably, well, let's take a look. He's about the same size, maybe slightly larger. We'll grab this one back here. Starting to get larger. We've got another one over here. Let's go ahead and grab this guy right here. That's a nice garlic bulb there, for sure. Beautiful. Another one here, and I only planted 8 bulbs because of the limited space I have. All right. That's another one. We'll grab this guy back here. It's a nice one as well. And we have one more right here. And he's pretty good size. So we've got some pretty good heads of garlic here. And like I said, I could have waited another couple of weeks and they would have fattened up probably 10 or 15% larger. But A, I wanted this space to plant some other crops. And B, all the telltale signs that these guys are starting to die down was already present. So I didn't want them to split again. Let me go and get these washed up and we'll take you on to the next step in processing them. All right, everyone, we've got all 8 garlic bulbs rinsed off pretty well. They don't need to be perfect at this point because technically the next step, if I want to store them long term, and garlic can store, if you cure it correctly, it can store 3 to 6 months minimum. But what I'm going to do on some of these is I'm going to get them ready to be eaten within a week, and then the other ones I'm going to cure for long term. If you want to store them for long term use, you want to put them in a cool, dry place for about 3 to 4 weeks. If you do that, from the minute that you finish them, and you'll see that they'll dry up completely on the ends here, and after that, they'll be good to use for 3 to 6 months. When I say cool, dry place, you know, just let them sit like in a pantry in your home. If you do that for 3 weeks, you will definitely be able to cure these guys properly. If you wanted to use them today, for example, which I don't really recommend same-day use, but technically you could, then you would cut all the roots off today. You cut it at the head of the stalk, about a ½ an inch above where the bulb is, and you technically just let it sit on the counter for a couple hours just to dry a little, now that I've rinsed them off. And then you can go ahead and break up the cloves and use them today. Judging by the sizes of them, I would say this one or this one are probably 2 of the largest. This one's a close third. And I'll probably take the largest 3 or 4 cloves out of this one, and this one, and that'll be my next planting that I will use. Now again, I'm going to cure those 3 for long-term use, and then I'll wait and use those as seed. But man, it just smells amazing. Fresh, homegrown garlic is so much more powerful, so much more nutritious in my opinion than what you get at the store. I also want to point out, these will now die fast. So if you want to have some cool tops to use in your cooking as an added element, then I recommend cutting off all the dying foliage first, leaving yourself the green ones. If it's yellow, it's going to be a little bitter, so don't keep that. But anywhere it's green or light green like the newer stuff, you can go ahead and finely chop this up, or just leave it as it is after you take the tops off and put it in the fridge. And that will last for a couple of weeks in the fridge, and you can use it to add into your cooking. If you've never had garlic scapes or garlic foliage as a means of using it as chives or green onion substitute, it's fantastic. It has that garlic taste. It's so strong and it's nutritious, and it really adds to any dish. So I went ahead and chopped all of the yellowing leaves away. That's just this bulk right here, and anything that might have had some partial yellowing. Like I said, I don't want anything bitter in my cooking recipe. Now that I've done that, you don't want to cut into the stalk if you're going to cure them for long term. Not yet. So I'm going to cut all of the foliage off where the last stalk is at, which is right about here on this one. I want to leave leaves that are splayed out from the stalk intact. But I'm gonna cut it off here, and I'm gonna go through and chop all the tops, and then I have myself a bunch of chives to add to any dish. Let me go ahead and do that next. All right, we've got all the tops cut off. I always leave a little bit of the foliage above the stem because you still want these to cure. You still want this to be able to feed it a little bit longer. So I'm not cutting it and eliminating all possible nutrients to the bulb. But look at this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is some of the best tasting chives you will ever cut yourself. Kills chives, kills green onions. The taste is incredible, that garlicky taste. The smell is ridiculous. And this will store in the fridge for a couple of weeks as well. And when I'm ready to use it, I just grab a couple of pieces, dice it up. I can use scissors if I want. I prefer scissors as well, just because it's a lot easier to cut these. And voila, you got a garlic flavor, garlic taste, garlic potency, garlic nutrients, all in a chive. I almost forgot. Don't forget to compost your waste. Garlic is a good deterrent for a lot of pests. If you've never tried growing your own garlic, I strongly urge you to do so. It's easy to grow, it's fun to grow, and it tastes fantastic. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.